there's literally nothing healthy about being extremely low body fat.
Right.
Like our body fat like drives a lot of things and a lot of health factors, particularly our hormones, and our hormones control so much of what's going on inside us. So there is a big difference between, bodybuilding and health.
Yeah.
I don't believe that both can be achieved at the same time. Like you can't be that lean, like inside out lean, top to bottom, back to front, and be considered healthy. You look at three different things in terms of health. So I look at physical health, so like how your body feels, injuries and whatnot. Physiological health, so how your hormones are, how your insides are working. And then your psychological health, so physiological and psychological. I believe psychological health can be achieved with both, provided that person is coached correctly and they're doing it for the right reasons. They're not just doing it for, I guess, what do they call it? Clout,
the approval of others,
the status and
comparing
stuff.
themselves.
Like I've prepped some people who have had woeful psychological health coming into shows and coming out of shows, and that usually just tells me that they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And as a coach, there's not a hell of a lot you can do about that. You can help encourage them and I guess make them see it from a positive light as much as you can. But some people are always just going to be doing it for the wrong reasons. Whereas you look at people who do it for the right reasons, and it's always a breeze coaching those people.
Yeah.
Physiologically, like there's no way you can be healthy, but obviously bodybuilding is done in stages. So you might go in the off season, gain the body fat back, work on building muscle. That's obviously healthy. We want to optimize metabolic health and all other factors of health there. But during the preparation, there's a point where it gets unhealthy. And unfortunately there is no, I guess, like handbook or rule book to getting people that lean.
Yep.
The body's just not like, we weren't created to do that. Like no one, like, whoever created this earth and whoever put people on the planet, they didn't say, all right, you're going to get to 5 or 6% body fat and I'm fine with that. Like we were put on the earth to survive.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you're taking yourself further and further away from survival. Yeah. Like you hear of some bodybuilders dying and stuff like that.
Yeah, you do. And well, I guess if it is something that you are passionate and then love, then that I'm sure isn't the worst thing.
Yeah, provided you take a good approach, like you can maintain good physiological and physical health over the course of long time.
Yeah.
But you can't stay shredded the whole time. Like you have to do it in phases. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of health issues come from. Is I don't mean to, single them out, but it is mostly women.
Yeah.
That's not to say that there isn't a lot of them that do it right, but in comparison to men,
or there are a lot of men that do it wrong.
Yeah, there is some men, but I find it's a larger percentage of females who get that lean and then they either overeat after the show and put all the weight back on and get into a terrible mind state and state of mind, and they can't, ever take their clothes off again in front of people and stuff like that. And then you've got, on the other hand, where they're too scared to eat more food and put the weight back on because they're worried that they're going to, go back to what they were, which they didn't like before. So I guess another thing you could say is like, it's important to love yourself for who you are before you get shredded. If you don't like the way you look already, you're still not going to like the way you look when you're shredded, because you're going to go, oh, but this is wrong and this is wrong. And
or even just learn that like the way that you look shouldn't necessarily indicate the value that you have on yourself, right?
Exactly. Like I could talk about the psychological state of this kind of stuff for hours and hours and hours. Obviously it's not in my necessarily my scope of practice because I'm not a counselor or a psychologist, but having watched this for 7.5 years and working mostly with women, like, there are so many avenues to it.
Yeah. Well, I think like obviously anorexia is a massive problem and a lot of people like know about anorexia because you see it, you still see a lot of women and some men deal with anorexia, but bigorexia is like this other term that like these big men can't like that they literally can't stop because they feel shit about themselves if they've lost a couple of kilos. And
it's going down a rabbit hole. Like it's really hard to get back out.
And like obviously like those type of men would get their value, feed their ego from being the biggest bloke. Let's compare that to women. I don't necessarily see as many women wanting to be the biggest and strongest woman, but I'm sure there's a lot more that want to win those bikini competitions, want to win those not sculpt or physique.
Oh, they got bikini, fitness, figure, all that kind of stuff.
So as soon as they have a couple of donuts after their comp, and if they're not psychologically there or mentally set, I can definitely imagine that the problems that might, I guess, come about.
Yeah, like it's hard because it's a sport where you're critiqued and you're judged on how you look.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that, you know, psychological issues can come from that. Like it's, you know, I've done it before, and it's hard to get up there in minimal clothing and display yourself in front of everyone to literally just be criticized and be judged. And everyone says, oh, you know, don't judge this person, don't judge that person. But we're literally putting ourselves on stage to be judged. And then when people are judged and they're told where they need to improve, some people take it really well.
Yeah.
Some people don't take it well at all.
Yeah.
So, and that's just having an understanding of how the sport works.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine volunteering to put my hand up, get into some underpants and let three people tell me what's wrong with me.
It's different. Like when you actually like think about what you do for bodybuilding, like let's use a male bodybuilder as an example.
Yep.
You starve yourself and train your ass off for 6, 7, 8, even up to 9 months for the year. Shave yourself down, throw on a filthy tan, get up there and like covering nothing but your junk and flexing your muscles in front of a bunch of strangers. It is weird.
And some fat bloke that's bald is telling you what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Literally, it's weird. Like think about it. Like you're like, shit, that's pretty backwards.
Yeah.